This is the Zim video. This is volume 3, part 1, my rideshare experience video series. I've been a rideshare driver in San Diego since February 2nd, 2017, creeping up on 2 full years of driving. So, as you can see, for those of you that have been watching my series for a while, I'm changing it up again. And, well, first of all, thanks a lot for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, click the icon on the screen in the corner or down on the page where you know, on YouTube. Click that red subscribe button. That'll help me out. Going for that 100,000, was it? Yeah, 100,000 subscribers for the first play. The first YouTube play button that you get. Silver? Is it? I don't know. I can't remember. But anyways, I got some things to talk about. Got my notes here. So I wanted to first just break down real quick why I'm changing up the series. Just because, first, the main point is just, it's because I've gotten away from the experience part of it, my personal experience aspect of rideshare driving. Was what I started this whole series about, was just my experience, just telling you what it's been like for me. And so, I kind of slid into like trying to find topics to talk about, that just to try to make the show, and it kind of got away from what I care about, in a sense. I'm not trying to really be an advice show. I just want to be in a show about, like, this is my experience, this is what it's like, this is what's happened. So I'm changing the format a little bit. As you can see, I'm on the other side of the screen. We'll try it out, see if it actually works. It might be awkward if I'm on the other side, because I'll be putting stuff up there in a second. But I'm going to get right into how much I made. We'll do shout outs after how much I made instead of before. And then this show is going to be really up to you to help make, because all the comments I get on this show, comments and questions, I will then answer in the next show. I'll also answer in the comments as well, but I'll use them as content for the next show. So whatever you post in the comments, depending on how much is there and all that stuff, if you write a really long post, I'll probably paraphrase it. But things like that, I'll just use the comments to, be the content for the next show. So it's up to you. If you have questions for me, if you have thoughts, ideas that you want to express and share, feel free to do it, and it'll be part of the comments, part of the show for next time. And so since this is my first one, I will be basically just doing some of my own experience, some of the things that came up. So we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, that's basically the show. I'll do how much I made, shout outs and comments from you, comments and questions from you, and then go into my own personal experience from the week. Like this week, I recorded, I put every time something came up with a passenger that I thought was noteworthy, I wrote a little note down on my phone, which I left over there. I'll have to go grab it in a second. But yeah, so let's just get into it. Hopefully that was clear. If you have any questions for me, of course, hit it up in the comments. Comments where it's at. So let's get into this first part of it, is how much I made. How much I made this week was $1,200.67 in my deposit, as you can see. But then also I got $12 in cash tips. So in my heads up display right there, you can see that it's $12 more in cash tips. So it came to a total of $1,233.67, which I worked 52 hours this week, which I'll talk about more in a minute, because I did the whole 145 rides for my personal top level ride challenge bonus, which I'll talk about more in a second. Like I said, tips this week, I got $152.68 total in tips. That includes that $12 in cash, which is decent considering I like to get at least $1 per ride in tips, so that was pretty good. It came out to be about $23.50 per hour before expenses. So yeah, that's okay. It's not great. It kind of pays pretty well though. So 52 hours isn't too bad for 6 days of working. One day I was able to manage. Let's go into the second slide, which is the daily breakdown. I think it was Friday, I managed to get 30 rides in less than 9 hours, just slightly less than 9 hours. So that came to about 3 rides 3.33 rides per hour, which is pretty darn awesome in San Diego. If you're getting around the 3 rides per hour range in San Diego, it's pretty good. If you're getting more than that, which was 3.3 rides an hour, that's like really good. So the best I've ever done is like 4 rides an hour for like an 8-hour shift, or 9, or however long it was. I think it was about 8 hours. So that was pretty good. That felt really good on Friday. Saturday it slowed down a little, but it was still got 30 rides in on Saturday. So my strategy this week was I went for 145 rides, and if you've been watching the series, you know I'm not a big fan of the 145 rides because it means I'm working 6 days. But and it's just not sustainable. Like, I couldn't work 6 days every week. Eventually it would catch up to me, and I would just be, my brain would be fried, and my butt and my body and everything would be fried, and I just wouldn't be able to take it. So having 2 days off a week is very important for me to make this job sustainable. So I typically go, for me, my ride challenge bonus, I have 2 tiers, 123 rides and 145 rides. Typically always go for the 123 rides. Why did I go for the 145 rides this week? Was just because I didn't work at all over Thanksgiving week. I just decided I wanted to time off, and I was like, okay, I would like to make a little extra money to kind of help that. So I was like, and I had the time off, I was rested, and so I just went for it. And the strategy I used to make it happen was do nothing but work, and which plays into the whole, like, it's frustrating. Plays into the frustration part of this job, because it doesn't leave a life. It doesn't leave you time to have a life. If you need to make a sustainable living off the job, it's hard to have a life outside of it. So it's just one of the things it's on the cons part of the scale. Of course, there's a bunch of pros I've talked about before, so I'll leave it at that. So I went for the 145 rides, knowing that this week I would go back to my 123 rides, and I hadn't worked for a while. So, and the way I made it sustainable was basically divided. It was basically 24 rides a day, which you know is my basic strategy. I went for 24 on Tuesday and Wednesday. I was able to get both those days, get 24 rides. Tuesday was actually really good, but it slowed down right toward the end, so I was only really able to get my 24 before I was like, okay, this is good enough. And then Thursday was really bad because it rained in San Diego. When it rains in San Diego, it just messes up the whole rhythm of the city. People don't go out as much, and it's just not as good. So I was only able to get like 22 rides in on Thursday, and then but I was able to pick it up Friday and Saturday. Friday was amazing, like I said already. I had 3.3 rides an hour, and I got 30 rides in, so that was awesome. It worked out really well. And then Saturday 30 rides, and then Sunday I only needed 16 more rides. So it all worked out. Got my 145 rides. Sunday I like to watch football, the Seattle Seahawks. Where's my, oh, you can't see it now, but there's a Seahawks thing right there, that picture right there. But anyways, so I watched the Seahawks kick the 49ers butt, and then then I went back to get to work. I got like 10 rides in the morning, and then after the game I got my last 6, and it worked out good. So that's how I did it. But the strategy part beyond that was only just devoting the entire day to the job, which is pretty much what you have to do anyway, because I do that split shift, which I've talked about. Start at 7, go till about 11 or 12, stop, and then start again at 3 and go till I'm done with getting my rides. So when I got home at 12, I pretty much went till 12 most days, and I just went straight to bed. I just took in like a 2-hour nap, got up, went and got my kids from school, and then got back to work. And that was pretty much my schedule. So it really just means your whole day is devoted in some way to the job. It's either you're actually working it or you're recovering to work it more. And so that's just kind of how it worked out for me this last week. So if you have any questions on how much I made, feel free to hit me up and let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to go into more details around it. I think I covered it. Quick mention, I had my app rating right now is 4.91, so 4.9 on the app, 4.91 on the driver app. Yeah, so I wanted to, since this is my first week, I don't have any shout outs this week. Nobody new posted lately, so thank you all for engaging. Those of you that have, I usually shout out to new people I haven't seen before post on the show. So what I'm going to do this week is, so as you know, let's put up on the screen, I got an email. I put this up last time, I believe, as well, or recently. I got an email from Lyft, congratulating me on their 10,000 rides. I was like, thanks. what I didn't put before is that there was an email. I'm going to black out the email because I don't know if they want everybody to have it or whatnot. But it's just my local driver council, and in it says, it's signed by John Zimmer, and it says, you know, if you have any thoughts about your experience, basically, or something like that, we'd love to hear it, or something like, you know, email your driver council. So I decided, okay, on November 19th, I emailed the driver council per John Zimmer's suggestion, and I wanted to read you the letter I wrote. It's pretty substantial. Just because, again, this is my experience driving, this is my experience with the job, and I want to share with you it. I was gonna share this like in the moment, but I decided to give them a chance to like respond to it, and they have not responded to it. So I just figured it's fair game now, since they've had plenty of time to respond if they were going to. So this is what I wrote. Hi, I got the email for passing 10,000 rides, so I thought I would send a note per John Zimmer's suggestion. Unfortunately, from my experience, I am more discouraged and inspired by the support and business model Lyft has for its drivers. I do not feel like Lyft wants me to succeed. The main and best reason I continue to do this job is because it allows me independence. However, it's a very grueling job to make a sustainable living off of. Lyft continues to do things to make it harder. I am disappointed in the new Ride Challenge bonus structure, as it forces me to work an unsustainable amount of hours every week to make my income sustainable. It's like a slap in the face. Oh, let's get rid of peak rides, but make it harder overall and less money. In San Diego, my low tier bonus is 123 rides. Getting 123 rides every week is not easy to do. It requires 24 to 25 rides a day and a 5-day work week, which in turn means 9 to 10 app hours a day, which we all know 9 to 10 hours for 5 days in a car is very fatiguing on your body. I would be very surprised if you did not know all the math surrounding these things, so I'm going to spare going into great detail. I will state that if I don't get the bonus, this job is not sustainable. It's not worth it. So, if I choose to adjust my strategy or work less for a week, or 2, I don't currently get any kind of bonus. When it was the Power Driver bonus, it gave me 4 tiers, so I could still get a bonus even if I choose to not grind my face off every week going for 123 rides. The 145 ride tier is just straight ridiculous, especially for $247. If it was for 400 or so, that would be much more worthwhile. It's the law of diminishing returns. 6 days in the car is unhealthy, especially for that bonus amount. I have found my body needs at least 2 days of rest to maintain doing this job. Back to back is ideal. If I'm going to push myself to get 145 rides, it would have to be a much better incentive. I also don't like that the bonus amount changes with only 1 day notice of the change. Why does the lower tier bonus change and not the upper tier? That seems cruel. I've been getting the 123 rides more often than not, and why would they lower the amount I am able to make? It's always less, it's never more. It feels like if Lyft feels demand in an area is going up, they make it harder to complete bonuses and make a sustainable living. Why not keep it the same or make it better? Why does Lyft show they value their drivers? Why doesn't Lyft show they value their drivers by making it possible to make more money when demand goes up in an area, instead of putting up obstacles to achieve success? If the bonus amount is lowered, I would also like to see the ride requirement lowered to match. It feels to me the business model of Lyft is, what is the least we can do for our drivers that won't make them stop driving for us? I'd be happy to talk more about my experience has been like driving for Lyft if anyone is interested. However, I've done this before and it seems like it's not valued anyway. Sorry, I don't have anything more positive to say at this time. I do like driving for Lyft. I feel like I don't let my frustration show in my commitment to do the best job I can. I value being the best version of myself I can be. For the time being, I'm driving full time, so this version of me wants to be the best Lyft driver. If you have access to my account, you can probably see that this is reflected in my ratings and passenger comments. I'm just frustrated because it does not feel like Lyft wants me to make a sustainable living and succeed. Lyft business practices do not feel transparent or in support of healthy and sustainable working environments. Thanks for your time. So that's where I'm at. that's what I decided to send. So if they wanted to respond to it, they can still do it, or they can not if they don't. But I wanted to share with you my experience, and all this stuff I've talked about before on this show, on this channel. Maybe not in the same way, but similar. I've kind of told you what it's been like for me. I also wrote that at a time, you know, it's like I ebb and flow with frustration of just wanting to get ahead in life, and I've chosen to drive Lyft for now and do this job. And because of like the pros and cons that I've talked about before, not having a boss and having it be flexible, and which is a really valuable asset, it was a really valuable part of the job. It makes me, what keeps me doing the job, as I mentioned in the letter, I can't stomach the idea of working for somebody else. So I would love it if this job could be better. And so that's why I wrote the letter I did, because it would be great if this job could be created such that it does allow me to thrive more than just survive. So let's go into the next part of the show, which is just my experience of the last week, like what happened over the last week with some drivers. And so there's a couple things I want to mention. I've personally changed, as you heard me say, like when it was in the kind of the rental program, I changed the terminology of bonus to discount, because that makes more sense. When you're in the rental program and you're getting the rides in, it just logically makes more sense to think of it as a discount on your rental charge rather than a bonus you get, because you don't really get it. It's just you're paying less. So the terminology of bonus makes it sound like it's some incentive. It's some kind of actual bonus. It's more than less. So like it's just better to think of it as a discount on your rental. That's what I think. So, and I realized that the same kind of thing applies to the ride challenge bonus. It's actually a ride challenge incentive. I've changed the term when I talk to passengers and when I talk about the job. I changed the term from bonus to incentive, because it's an incentive to get you out there and drive more, but it's not an actual bonus. What it actually is, for me, it's what makes it sustainable. Like if you're doing this full time and you don't get that bonus, or what I'm saying now, incentive, that ride challenge incentive, then it's not worth it. You're just not making enough to survive off of. So you really need to get that. That's like a part of the job. It's like tips for, tips as well, but like tips for service industry people. Everybody knows, it's universally accepted that people that work in the service industry live off their tips. It's the same kind of idea. People that work as rideshare drivers essentially live off their tips, as well as the bonus or incentives the platforms offer. So it's just a different way of phrasing, a way of thinking about it, because bonus, I think, is a kind of a misconception of what it actually is. So I want to just run through some moments in the car that were just inspired thought for me. So I want to share them with you. The first one was, I had a passenger that drove both platforms, and we were talking about the job, and he's like, yeah, I've been doing it for 3 years. I've done, and then I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing it for 2 full-time. He's like, full-time, he's a full-time driver as well. And then he said, oh, the real question is, how many rides have you done? And I said, 10,160. I didn't know at the time really, but I knew I was over 10,000. And he was like, 10, he was like, all like 10,000, oh my God. Like, well, I've only done like 9,000 and stuff. But anyways, what he ended up saying was, he likes Lyft better than Uber because of whenever he has both platforms on. I guess it sounded like he would leave both platforms on and until I guess he picked up the passenger, because what he said if he got a ride from Lyft, he would cancel the ride from Uber because Lyft pays him more. So it's something good to note. And that reminds me of my own Uber journey. I am still planning to sign up for Uber. They still haven't got me signed up because I don't know why, but the last email I got, if I can find it, I'll put it up here. The last email I got said, go down to the office and like the local service desk and figure it out. So I just have to, and I think if I read it right, I forget now, but I think it was only Thursday and Fridays it's open. And I typically work for Lyft on Thursday and Friday. That's part of my schedule. So I just haven't wanted to deal with it yet. So eventually I will get signed up for Uber. But until then, I'm just doing my thing right now. personal kind of. So 2 weeks ago, before the last episode of Volume 2 of this rideshare show, I tried to do just the weekend. I focused just on the weekend, and it's a very different strategy when you're just doing the weekends and you're not getting bonuses. You're thinking of it in terms of how much money I can make each day, and you're wanting those longer rides. So you want to position yourself to be in a place where you get longer rides versus shorter rides. But I've been doing, for the last 2 years, I've been focused on just getting as many rides as I can, and then getting the incentive, as I just gone over. So realizing the way that I've wired myself to do this job is right now I like the version of just going for the incentive rather than working just for as much money as I can per day, because it's easier. It's way easier just to take a ride and not even think about how long it is and whether, because once you hit those incentive numbers, it boosts up your pay enough to make you feel good about it. So I don't know, I'll fill you in more on my evolution of that, but once I get signed up for Uber, I'm going to test out what it's like to drive solid Friday through Sunday, just 3 days, but 12 app hours a day, and toggling through the platforms, if it makes any difference at all. If it makes any difference at all. It may not make any difference because of the fact that Uber pays less, Lyft pays more, so even, it may be the same. But if I could make $300 a day for a 12-hour shift each day, that would be enough to make me feel okay about doing that. But I don't know if that's even possible. So I did pick up a lady in a wheelchair, and she got when she got in the car and I helped her with her wheelchair, we had a conversation, and she made a comment that sometimes she gets drivers who are, I don't know what the right word is, but disappointed that she has a wheelchair, or don't like it. Basically just don't like the fact that they have to deal with this woman and her wheelchair. And it just got me thinking, that's a major bummer. If any of us as drivers have ever had this oh God, have to deal with a wheelchair kind of thought process, for me personally, I look at it as an opportunity to give back to somebody that's less fortunate than I am, because it's I want to help that person, and I want to make them feel comfortable. I want to make them feel at ease, because they definitely have a harder life than I do, having to deal with getting around in a wheelchair. So that's just kind of where I put it, and it just made me a little disheartened to hear that some drivers get kind of bummed out about the fact that she has a wheelchair. And I was just man, that sucks. I like to look at it as an opportunity to give back in a way, to just be friendly and be nice and look forward to those moments of being able to help. That's just the way I work. I did have one guy that got in the car that was eating, walked up with a piece of pizza. Really bothered me. I don't know, how do you deal with people that just get in their car and eat and just right away without even asking or anything? Really bothers me. I was gonna rate him low, but I didn't want him to see, and I didn't go back into finding his ride. I could probably still, I don't know if I can still do it, but so anyways, I didn't rate him low for that, but it did bother me. So if you're a passenger, don't eat in people's cars, please, especially without asking. So walk of shame. So how many of you have had passengers that were legit walk of shame type of situations? A lot of people, when I tell them that I like Sunday mornings the best, Sunday mornings my favorite time of day to drive, no question, hands down, favorite time of the drive, because there's lots of rides and it's chill and less traffic. Feel like there's less other drivers out there, rideshare drivers out, and but it's the potential of getting somebody that's kind of walk of shame kind of vibe is there. But a lot of passengers, when I tell them, they think it happens all the time, and it really doesn't. It really feels like it happens very rarely. Most of the people that need rides in the morning on Sunday, or not most, but a bunch of them that have the party night after vibe, is mostly just to go back to their cars because they took a Lyft home or something. They're not slept over somebody's house and they're kind of half dressed and walking out the door. But I did have one this week, and it was a clear example of a walk of shame. It was at a hotel, and she rest for the night before. And then she also said a comment of like, we were talking and she made this comment. I was like, so what are you going to do today or something? And she said, I just hope to get my vagina back, is basically what something of that nature. And I was like, what? So it was like clear what was going on with her the night before. And I don't know, she was hot, but it was just kind of like a funny situation for sure. I thought it was pretty funny. Again, so one of the most common things that I used to get all the time in the car, and this is the last one for today, but the most common thing I used to get all the time, I picked up this kind of exchange student. That doesn't really matter, but her name was Claire, and she was at San Diego State for a couple weeks. But we were in the car talking, and it came up that I had kids and all this kind of stuff, and it was the situation of like, she was confused about the age of my kids because she thought I was a lot younger than I was. She was like, when I told her my age or told her I had kids, she was like, how old are you? And I was like, 41. And she's like, I thought you were 30. So that like happened, used to happen a lot more often. It hasn't happened recently, but it did just happen again. It was one of the most, for the first year of driving, it was one of the most common things that would happen. People thought I was a lot younger than I am, which I don't know why, but it happened all the time. So it happened again. So it makes me feel good to feel like I am aging well, I guess. The last thing I'll mention is those of you that have been following the story of my experience driving for a long time and this channel, this YouTube channel, I've talked about I have a bladder issue, and last week was one of my worst days in the car, weeks of my bladder issue and having to drive during it and different things. And basically what it does, sometimes it makes me feel like I have to go to the bathroom pretty, soon after having gone already once before. And it was like really bad this last weekend. And the reason I bring it up is because I don't know if, because it's, feeling like physically not 100 when you're driving is one of the hardest things to kind of deal with. And so what I've done, when people ask how's it going to me, I always put that question in the frame of reference of how the driving is going, like how the money is coming in. Instead of taking it personal and going, how am I doing in my life? I was able to, this week I was looking at it. Every time somebody said, hey, how's it going? I would go, oh, it's been going pretty good. I've been getting my rides in pretty quick this week. Kind of something like that. So, I don't know. That's just kind of what I decided to shift my thinking around with that question of how's it going, because I wasn't feeling 100%. I was frustrated and not feeling good. But, I think one of the most awkward things to do is to tell the passenger that you're not feeling good. So, that's what's going on there. That's my experience. So there you go. This is the first part of volume 3 of my rideshare experience, where I'm trying to get really back to just my experience driving, what it's been like. Again, post some comments, questions, and all that, and that'll be what I'll use to publish for next week. I'll make content out of it for next week, so I'd love to have your stories, thoughts, and ideas. And then, if you have any, that's how it works. If you found this video because you want to become a driver, use my referral code. It's ZIM200. You and I both get a bonus no matter what city you're in. Right now, if you live in San Diego, it's $450 for a bonus, and they give you like a few more dollars per ride for doing like 200 rides within the first 2 months, something like that. That's been kind of the MO of their bonus structure lately. So you could be anywhere. I've had people as little as $50, as much as $1,000 when they use my referral code, be able to do it. Somebody in LA got a $1,000 incentive, and somebody in, I don't even know where it was, but got a $50 incentive. So anywhere in the country you can use it, so check it out. If you want to follow along on this journey on a more regular basis, you can go to my Instagram. It's at RideshareZim on Instagram, and I post pretty much daily, mostly about how much I made, but some other things I've been using the stories. I'll talk about my strategy for the day sometimes, or how many rides I have left, or some random stuff I post on the Instagram. But also you can follow along at I do a daily podcast, which you can check out every day. So yeah, check it out. It's anchor.com anchor.fm/thezim, or it's on all the places, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Just a podcast about my life and times, and I often talk a lot about rideshare stuff on that, so check it out. And then of course, if you want to support this whole process, the best way to do it is, the most you can do to support is check out the Patreon, patreon.com/thezim. The least you can do is just watch these videos, which you're doing right now, so thanks a lot for that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do in between, such as sharing the videos around, going to my other links that are in the description of the podcast, checking them out, listening to the music, just, telling people about what I'm all about. It'd be awesome. Alright, until next week, be excellent to each other. May your rides be long and your tits be big.